Welcome back to SnowRunner, guys, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 things that SnowRunner needs, in my opinion, to realize its full potential. Now, if you have any other suggestions that you would like to add to this list, or anything that you think SnowRunner doesn't have right now that it desperately needs, go ahead and leave those suggestions in the comment section down below. I want to have a very open conversation about this topic because that's the only way that a game like this can grow, and that's the only way that a community can get its voice out there. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and move on to point number 1, and that is going to be the addition of custom maps. Now, before I go any further, I do want to go ahead and activate a task real quick, so I am going to disconnect that little fleet star, detach the trailer, and we're going to go ahead and run down the road in our MK38. Now, we're going to go ahead and run down the road, activate this task, and then rescue back here. Now, again, number 1 on my list, addition of custom maps. Now, that's something they've been talking about in terms of something that can come in the future. They say it can come in the future. However, I don't think we've seen, in my opinion, we haven't seen a lot of confirmation about that yet, apart from, well, it might be happening. And for a game where they promised us custom maps, I feel like the response of it might be happening isn't quite enough. I would like it if they were a little bit more positive about it, and frankly, it's a tiny bit worrying that they're not a little bit more positive about it. Now, I'm sure that they will come at some point, but they don't really seem to be that positive about a timeline just yet. Now, obviously, we're talking about, we've been talking about the addition of, oh god, big slide there. It was getting it slid for a good 20, 30 feet, and then I tried to correct it the other direction, and it was like, I am not having any of that. But they've been adding campaign maps, and if you're on PC, you can actually check out the new campaign map by downloading the test server on the, obviously for the PC version, where you can play on the new map, The Rift, which if you haven't seen my exploration videos on that map where we revealed all of the watchtowers, then make sure you head over to my channel and check that out. Now, number 2 on the list is I would like some more confirmation about console mods. And I know that it's a subject that has seemingly been beaten into the freaking ground so far. But, I gotta tell you, wow, we went way too far. I gotta tell you, console mods have been, again, something that has been so heavily discussed, and yet, not touched on since release. So keep in mind that that was a heavy marketing point of this game, and ever since the game was released, they didn't really talk about it all that much. Now, I'm not saying that it was something that they put out there just to get people to buy the game and then they're not going to do it. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that I would like more, just as a player, not even as a YouTuber, but as a player, purely as a player, I would like a bit more confirmation on when and how console mods are going to come to us. So that's obviously something that we all need to be thinking about, and I think that, once we get a little bit further down the road, I'm sure they're going to be a little bit more expressive about how these things are going to work. But as of right now, they're not quite being as expressive about those two things, maps and console mods, as I would like them to be. Now, number 3 is something that I don't know if everybody has really either noticed or sort of struggled with, but it's been something that's been on my radar ever since I started playing around with the not even custom maps, but the testing ground maps on the PC version. Now, if you play around with the testing ground maps on the PC version at all, you'll find yourself wanting to put vehicles onto trailers, which is something that you'll learn very quickly does not work. Now, the fact that you can't really drive a vehicle up onto a trailer and then have it stay there is, honestly, in my opinion, it's a big deal. I mean, you'll drive the vehicle up onto the trailer, and then when you switch trucks, the vehicle on the trailer will literally just fall through. And that, in my opinion, is such a glaring issue that while it's a simple one, it's one where it's like, really? You look at it and you're like, come on, man. And again, I'm not trying to rip into the game here. I'm not trying to say the game is bad, because again, SnowRunner is my favorite game right now, and I'm sure will continue to be my favorite game for a really, really long time. But I think that there are some little things like the things on this list that we actually really need to talk about. And vehicles falling through trailers is a big one. And I'm not sure if that's just something that the game was programmed to do, or something that the new engine just doesn't like, or just like a whole host of other things. There are many, many, many things that it could be, and I honestly don't know why that happens. I mean, I'm not a coder. I don't dive into the code of these games, but what I know is that it's something that worked in MudRunner, and it's something you would have expected to work in SnowRunner, but it doesn't work. And I think that that's just such a huge oversight, really. Number 4 on the list is mod.io issues. Now, when I say mod.io issues, I'm particularly talking about issues like the ones I was actually having. I had these issues personally on stream the other day, where some mods you will subscribe to, and they'll show up in game, and it's fine. Other mods, you'll subscribe to them, and they just won't show up. Now, they'll show up in your in-game menu where you can turn the little, mod switch to turn the mod on. They'll show up there, but once you actually go to spawn them in, they won't show up in-game. And I tested this pretty extensively with multiple modders actually watching the stream, and they were all like, bro, I have no idea what's going on. So that is something where it's got to be somewhere in the mod.io system, right? Like, where that is going wrong. If you're having to deal with some mods that work fine and other mods that won't show up at all, that's got to be something within the mod.io system. I'm not sure what it is, but it's something that really you wouldn't expect it to be happening, and yet it is. And again, I'm not ripping into the game for that, but it's something where you're like, I don't feel like this should be something that we should have to deal with at this stage of the game. And I really don't know why we're still dealing with stuff like that, And finally, number 5 on the list is something that I think all of us have been wanting, and something that all of us have been waiting for, and that is mods in multiplayer. Now, mods in multiplayer is one of those things that made MudRunner take off the way it did. And I frankly don't think MudRunner would have the sustained community that it still even has today without the fact that they're able to use mods in multiplayer. And I think at the end of the day, being able to use mods in multiplayer is one of the reasons why so many people gravitated towards this game. Because no matter how many mods you have, if people cannot use them in multiplayer, it's like, okay, what are we doing? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, what are we doing? Like, you can use mods in campaign for a good while, but in order to have that almost just insane level of freedom that mods in multiplayer can give you, in order to have that level of freedom, we need multiplayer mod functionality. And I'm sure that if it's something they are going to do, they're probably going to wait until they have mods on console, because that would make sense, right? If they wanted to centralize everything, they would wait until mod.io was synchronized with the consoles, and then they would make it so that there was a system that would allow you to use mods in multiplayer. But the fact that we can't use mods in multiplayer right now, I know is definitely something that I wish was different, and something that I'm sure a lot of other people in the community also and I'm sure it's something that a lot of other people in the community also wish was different. So it's one of those things where at the end of the day, you really have to look at it and go, what does this game really need? And not only what does this game really need, but what is this game really, like, fully about, And at the end of the day, what this game really is fully about is freedom. And without that multiplayer mod capability, you're really actually taking away a lot of that potential freedom, because giving players the freedom to, let's say, even if they wanted to explore a stock map, let's say they had I don't know, a Jeep mod, like a Jeep TJ or a Jeep CJ, and let's say they wanted to explore Michigan with said Jeep CJ or TJ. Well, without that mod functionality, without that mod, multiplayer mod functionality, that's not something they would be able to do. And it's something that they were able to do back in the days of MudRunner, and I really think that it's something that this game desperately, desperately needs. And I think that if it's, I think that it's something that these people really need to get their hands on. And not only is it something that I want as a YouTuber, but it's something that I would want just as a general player, because even when I'm not recording, I'll come out and play around with the mods in this game just because they're fun to play around with. And I think that sometimes, sometimes some people go, well, you only want to do mods in multiplayer because you're a YouTuber. And I'm like, no, literally, that, half the reason why I want mods in multiplayer is so that I have the ability to just play around with my friends, online sometimes. Because it's not just about, what we do on video. We also play the game. And I think when you look at it from a perspective of solely what makes the game more fun, mods in multiplayer are right up there at the top of that list. And at the end of the day, it really is all about what makes the game more fun. And if you can make the game more fun, you should do it. And that's always been my, something that I've always lived by in terms of, if I'm ever giving my opinion about any features that should be added to a game, I'm like, does it make the game more fun? If yes, do it. And that's, I think, why I wanted to make, mods in multiplayer one of the last things I talked about on the list, because yes, there are a lot of other things that would have to be completed before they got to that point, but at the end of the day, if they do add all that stuff to the list, dude, oh my god, it would be absolutely insane. Now, I do want to clarify that by saying these things, I do not want to give the impression that I don't think the game is fun. I think this game is an absolute blast, and I think it's genuinely the most fun game in my library right now. And I'm having an absolute blast with it. You guys know this. You guys know how much of a blast I have been having with this game. I mean, you've been seeing it on the videos, you've been seeing it on the streams, you've been seeing it just about everywhere, and all of the things that I've talked about in this video, I've talked about solely because of the fact that I think they would add a genuine amount of fun to this game. And while I don't feel like this game is lacking in the fun department, I definitely feel like there are some things they could add that could ramp it up even higher. So with all of that being said, can I line this up, bud? Can I line this up, bud? Yes. With all of that being said, oh my god, are you freaking kidding me? What the heck is going on here? All right. See, glitches like that, I'm like, I don't know why this is happening. But if you guys agreed with any of the things on that list, or if you would like to add anything to your own personal list, make sure you post all that stuff in the comment section down below. I would love to have an open conversation with you down there in the comments, just so we can have a discussion about what we all truly believe needs to come to SnowRunner. And if you guys enjoyed the video, then make sure to hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Hit that subscribe button. Click the notification bell. I'll see you guys next time.